Hey guys, this is As Above, So Below podcast. My name is Juliana Luna. How are you guys today? I'm great. I think it's officially summer. Let me just put that out there. Weather's been nice. I mean, over here in Michigan, and especially the part that I stay at, it's been raining these past few days, and I've been feeling like really tired, and like I've been slacking a little bit, like on my routine, like, my daily routines and stuff. But I'm starting to pick back up and move back into the, more disciplined mindset. And I think I'm going good today, and this weekend actually it's supposed to be pretty warm. So, I don't know. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Today's topic, if you couldn't tell by the title, let's do confused but growing. Yep, we're gonna jump right into it. I know we're only like a minute into this podcast, but I think this is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, especially with the youth, whether that's just teenagers or young adults, or adults period, transitioning people. You know what I mean? People transitioning into different stages of their life, whether that's mentally, physically, whatever. So, yeah, I think when we think of the word confused, it has a negative meaning to it, like confused being like a bad thing. Like, you're not supposed to be confused. Like, just know better. Like, you know what I mean? But confusion can definitely come with its benefits, its pros, whatever you want to call it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, why is confusion okay? So, I think confusion is okay because it allows you to be more self-aware. I think confusion is more of an emotion. Of course, it's a verb, it's an action, feeling confused. It's definitely a verb. But I definitely put it more on the emotion side, only because it's something that you're supposed to feel. It's something that, you need to be made aware of when decision making. I feel like confusion is a very, key part in decision making, only because, like, if you have a really big situation that you're going through and you need to make, like I said, a big decision, implement confusion into it, and it'll make you more self-aware of, whatever pros and whatever cons can come out of the scenario or situation, whatever, you are thinking about. And so I think confusion, it isn't necessarily like a bad thing, but I don't want to put it as a good thing either. Like, it's an emotion, like, anger, for example. Like, sure, yeah, you don't want to be angry, but it's not really a bad emotion either, because it's just making you more self-aware about, like, yourself, You can look at anger and be like, okay, well, what is my mindset when I'm angry? What am I doing when I'm angry? You know what I mean? So I think you can definitely turn confusion, put that in the same category as you would any other emotion. But when we implement confusion into growing, I think we need to take into hand that life moves fast. We all know that. We have prime examples in our life. It's 2023, it's summertime, we have a lot of graduates. I'm seeing a lot of Black graduates on my timeline, and it is so beautiful. Like, I don't know, I'm very emotional. If you know me in real life, like, I am very emotional. And just seeing, like, my fellow Black folks, just graduating and, going to their dream college, getting scholarships, full rides and stuff, doing just what they want to do for their future. It's just so beautiful to me, because I don't know, it's just so beautiful to me, and it makes me emotional. It really does. But yeah, so with that being said, there's a lot of transitioning going on, graduating, you're getting into the quote unquote real world. This is not the real world, especially if you're going to college, like, straight afterward. I mean, yeah, sure, you're 18, you might still live with your parents, but I feel like the mindset, and especially the more optimistic mindset, because going into the real world, like, that means life is coming at you, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably, like, I'm gonna say confused, but confused. You're probably confused. You're probably, you don't know what to do. It can be scary. It can be nerve-wracking, but I feel like you need to understand that life comes out of you, not at you. And that's definitely the more optimistic mindset, after transitioning or going into a transition, that life is not coming at you. Life is not going to throw, necessarily the unexpected. Sure, unexpected things are going to happen, but when you know how to control the unexpected, it shouldn't be as nerve-wracking, as anxiety-filled than when compared to having the mindset of like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen, I'm just gonna go with the flow, yeah, da, 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 da. Like, that's not always the greatest mindset to have. Life is coming out of you. You get to choose what you want to do in this lifetime. You get to choose just every action that you take day by day, and those actions will lead to an outcome. Where was I? Decision making. So I feel like with transitioning and, like mentally or physically, decision making is going to come into play. And what I mean by that is, when we talk about going to college, or we talk about moving to, a different state, a different country, or whatever, transition physically or mentally that you're going through, think of that. And whatever feeling you have with it, break it down and dissect, why you feel a certain way. Are you decision making based off of, influence around you? Like, you want to make your parents happy, you want to, just have a certain image for yourself. This is going to help you in your future. And I feel like you should definitely, like I said, just break it down. You shouldn't be making decisions off of, how other people feel about you. And I know it's very situational, especially when it comes to the parents. Like, oh, I'm going to college just because, my parents really want me to do this and do that, and they're not going to be happy. Well, I'm not going to lie, that's not a healthy lifestyle to be living. I mean, granted, you love your parents and you want to do anything to make them happy, but at the end of the day, how would that be benefiting you if that's not what you want to do? And I'm not gonna lie, I see that a lot. I just graduated high school, and I've heard that come out of some of my fellow classmates' mouths, or just other students. Like, yeah, my parents really want me to do this or do that, and that's not okay. That's not a healthy lifestyle that I know you'd not want to live. Because just think into the future. Like, are you honestly going to be happy doing that? Don't just think of like the money. Think of like the true happiness out of it. And just to piggyback off of, everything I just said, me, for example, like, my parents, like, they don't necessarily want me to be rich or anything. They obviously want me to be successful, but I think definitely the type of lifestyle I want to live, I don't think, well, maybe if I take over this little podcast, but, it's not really like a rich lifestyle. The lifestyle that I want to live, I want it to be travel oriented. I want to have like just an experience filled lifestyle. Like, I just want to be experiencing. I want to be a flight attendant. You cannot get rich off of being a flight attendant. I'm just let everybody know that right now. Sure, yeah, you can make some money off of it, maybe some good money, but definitely not like 100K a year. And the reason why I don't have a problem with that is because of the experience I'll be getting out of it. No, I don't believe that, I mean, I guess money can buy it, but I'm sure that, I'll be getting way more enjoyment out of what I'm doing at my job, and just overall experiencing. So, like, I want to be a worldwide flight attendant, direct flights from Detroit to Paris type shit. So, that's what I want to be doing. And like I said, my career choice, I guess, the type of lifestyle I want to live, I want it to be content creator, fulfilled, and that's more of the entrepreneurship side. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's definitely, I don't want to say hit or a miss, because I look at it as like a roller coaster. It's not definitely like either you make it or you don't, but it's definitely a lifestyle you have to be patient with. And like I said, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that at all. And I feel like when you have a passion for something, it shouldn't matter what other people think about it. You worrying about just whatever might come with it or whatever. Of course, taking accountability, like, well, I mean, this might happen or I might not like that. Of course, take that into accountability. But don't just make your decisions based off of other people, because that's how you end up just screwing yourself up in the end. Because you forgot all about yourself and your feelings, those same people who are like, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, are probably not going to be with you when you're stressing about, doing that same thing. They're not going to be by your side, have their hand on your shoulder, like, it's okay, just keep going, I want you to do this, I want you to. They're not going to be there for you. And that sounds a little harsh, but that's just a reality of that situation. So definitely when it comes to decision making, implement, confusion, and understand that confusion is okay, and that you should feel, indecisiveness. Indecisiveness is okay. And, I'm not saying it be indecisive forever, because you obviously got to make a choice, some way, somehow. But, it shouldn't be taken as a negative thing. Indecisiveness, being confused, it's not a bad thing, is what I'm trying to say. And then another thing with confusion is I feel like a lot of people in today's society, they feel behind. And I'm about to implement a little bit of social media influence into this. And I know as a upcoming, content creator, I definitely can see this from the creator side of it, not necessarily the consumer mindset of it, because you listening to this, you would be a consumer. No, consumer is not a bad thing. That's just the title that, audiences have, is the consumer. To put into like perspective is what I'm trying to say. So you listening to this podcast right now, you are considered the consumer. I am the creator. I'm creating, this big old thing for people to consume, you being the consumer, and that can have some sort of influence. Now, there's good influence and there's bad influence. I feel like, it's definitely situational, person to person. One person can see an image of a girl, let's say, for example, a model, like, in a bikini, and be like, oh my God, I'm inspired. I like her outfit. Let me go like recreate the outfit. But another person can look at that same image and point out insecurities within themselves. So it's very situational, especially when it comes to social media. And I feel like that's what people also need to understand. Because when people talk shit about social media, like, they don't understand, like, that's how some people make their money. You know what I mean? And then they also don't understand that it's also very situational. Like, the same image, two different people can look at them and have two totally different perspectives. So that's why it's kind of like dangerous when, certain guidelines are made, certain restrictions are made. Like, obviously, bad stuff needs to be taken off, social media, but it begins to become just a slightly unfair, especially when certain things come into play. We see that with TikTok a lot. A lot of Black creators are being taken off of social media for the same things a white creator would do. So it's just little things like that. But the reason why I was saying all that is because comparison. I feel like when you're growing, why people feel behind is because they compare themselves. And I feel like that's something that we need to grow out of. Like, as a generation, Gen Z, whatever, we need to grow out of it. Only because, social media is only going to become a platform that comes bigger and bigger. Whatever social media you use, whether that's Twitter, Instagram. I don't have Snapchat. And if you still have Snapchat, I don't know. Like, usually when I see Snapchat on someone's phone, it's like an automatic judgment. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, you want it down. You know what I mean? No offense, but I think Snapchat should have been left like 2 years ago. Like, I don't know, like, why other reason are you still using Snapchat besides, like, I guess the memories? I don't know. Like, how you have, like, you could slide up and have, like, all your little memories? I guess. But, like, I've been through Snapchat away. I don't know about y'all. I've been through that shit away. But, yeah. And it's just going to be, like, social media is just going to get bigger and bigger. So I think definitely growing out of the mindset of comparison, we see, freaking, what's an example of, okay, a rapper, Lil Tyler. Yes, I'm bringing him up. He's a little fine. No, but, he's like young as hell. Like, I think we're the same age. I don't even know how old he is, but he's pretty young. He has, Cuban chains on. He's rich, off of his rapping career. And, someone my age might look at that and be like, dang, or even someone older than me be like, dang, like, he is his age and I don't even have any of that. Like, I don't even have half of what he has. And, you need to understand that everybody has a different path. Everybody's taking a different path. Everything that you've been through is, or going through, is only building you for what is has to come for you. And that sounds really confusing, but how can I reword that? Everything that you've been through up to this point has made you who you are. So if you want to reach like a certain image, a certain lifestyle, what can you do right now in this moment to then lead to that? Because I'm pretty sure that same rapper was not doing what the fuck you doing. Like, he's not, he wasn't sitting in bed. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but he wasn't sitting in bed. He wasn't, at this job. He wasn't going to this school as you. You know what I mean? He had certain type of influences around him to then, shape him into the person he is now. And comparison, it gets very tricky because, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to anybody that went through, that didn't go through the same things as you did. So I feel like that whole mindset of comparison, I feel behind because I'm not here, I'm not there. Sure, yeah, it can be used as, a sense of motivation, definitely. But I think when taken a little bit too far to where you're feeling insecure and bad about yourself, it's definitely negative. And I think we as a society need to grow out of that. Just comparing ourselves to people on social media, it's not a good look, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's not a good look, and it needs to be grown out of. Learning through failure, I think, is something that needs to be talked about a little bit more, only because I tend to see, like, when people fail, whether it's something small, like, at a job or whatever, or fail, like, mentally, physically, like something big, whatever you think as a failure. I think it definitely needs to be learned from, but not learned from as quick. I don't want to say, like, automatically, shifting your mindset to where it's like, as soon as you fail, you're like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? But definitely, like, soak in a failure, but then learn to move on quickly after. Whatever is quick to you, a few days, a week, but you definitely shouldn't dread over a certain failure for years. And I think understanding, like, for example, the 5 stages of grief. I just learned about this, so a little history lesson. Not history, but we talked about this in one of my nursing classes. I'm a CNA, certified nursing assistant, and we work with a lot of older patients. And when we have to, handle situations, say a patient passes, we have to kind of like their children, for example, the people that come to visit, the older patients, we'll have to explain the situation to them, and we need to understand that they're grieving and help them through that in a way. And so there's 5 stages. It goes denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. I feel like if you implement those into failure, whatever kind of failure that you have, because you're definitely going to feel 1 out of 5 of those emotions, definitely. But understanding that it is definitely a process, and you can even implement those, you can even say those 5 stages, write them down or whatever, and then reflect on failures that you've been through and be like, oh yeah, I did go through the denial first, and then I was angry, and then I was trying to bargain, and then I was kind of depressed for a while, but then I ended up accepting it. You can definitely see how those stages are implemented into failure, or like, tragic things that you've been through. And I feel like if those are not necessarily memorized, but if those are taken into account when you do fail, it's a lot easier to get through something because you understand your emotions. I feel like when you begin to understand your emotions, it's way easier to get through things. Because if you're just going through something, you're like, why am I happy one day? Why am I sad one day? Why am I, angry right now? Why am I confused later? It can be very, very overwhelming. So just learning to understand your emotions when going through failure, and understanding that failure, is not a bad thing. You need to learn from it. Going through something bad can only be a learning experience, whether that has to do with relationships, whether that has to do with mentally or physically. Like, it always can be something you can pick up from because now you know better. And so 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. definitely try to implement those into whatever failures you're going through. And shoot, it can happen just as like fast as 1, 2, 3. Like, I'm really passionate about sports, especially volleyball. And I used to be a crier. Like, okay, let my little secret out. But when I was in middle school and we would play like volleyball and have our little volleyball games, or I was even in high school too. I'm not gonna lie. Even in high school, like I would cry like if we messed up, and that was not okay. Like it was not okay at all. Like literally. So this is what would happen. So boom, we would be in the middle of a play or whatever, and then boom, I mess up. I hit the ball. It ends up going the complete opposite way my brain intended it to. And I mess up the whole play. Boom. That's the point. We lose the game or something. We just, like I said, mess up the play because of me. And I'll start crying. But then, I'll start like blaming it on other people. And then I'll be like, well, dang, maybe it really was my fault. All right, well, whatever. I got to move on. And it's just that quick. The 5 stages of grief are that quick. Denial. I'm like, wait, hold on. I just really did that. I didn't really do that. That was me. That was me. And then I'm angry, like, oh my God, I just did that. Like, what the heck? I don't need to break this down to you. It's just funny and fun for me. But I don't care. I love acting. And then bargaining. I'm like, wait, no, that was you. You hit it towards me wrong. So that's the only reason why I hit it wrong, because you hit it towards me wrong. In which, in volleyball, if you know how the game volleyball goes, that can be a case. I'm not gonna lie. If I do the first, like, hit or whatever, because there's 3 hits in a play. Well, you can get up to 3 hits in a play. So say I have first hit and I'm trying to get it towards the setter. The setter can't set a ball that's like, about to touch the ground. So that can mess up the play. So even sometimes like that. But in this situation, it's not like that. It's really my fault. So bargaining, maybe that was your fault. You hit it towards me wrong. Then depression. Dang, like I really messed up that play, I suck. And then acceptance, like, okay, well, I messed up the play, now we can move on. It can happen, the 5 stages of grief can happen just like that, like just as fast. So don't think like, you need to take a day period to feel each emotion. Like, it's just whatever you're going through, recognize your emotions. That's all that is. It's just to recognize. And then lastly, just be thankful. I feel like, because we are talking about confusion, but confused and growing. You need to understand that whatever situation you're going through, whether it's good, whether it's bad, to just be a little bit more self-aware. Because I feel like, in any given situation, you need to, like I said, be more aware of the thankfulness out of it. Some people don't have a choice, you know what I mean? Be thankful that you're able to make a choice, whether you can move here or move here, or whether you want to go to college A or college B, or whether you want to continue working here or continue working there. You know what I mean? Some people, like I said, don't have a choice. In relationships as well. This is a prime example. You have a choice to, be single or be in a relationship. Some people don't have a choice, believe it or not. Some people are in abusive relationships, mentally or physically, and are only staying because they're mentally, physically attached to that person. And the reason why I keep saying mentally or physically in whatever I'm saying is because it definitely goes both ways. You know what I mean? So, anyway, some people are attached to people who abuse them either mentally or physically and don't want to leave because they love them. And, you're single. You know what I mean? You can decide whether, you can be in a relationship or not, whether you wanted to stay or not. Be thankful for that, because a lot of people don't have a choice. You know what I mean? A lot of people depend on other people, financially, mentally, or physically, like I'm saying once again. And, be thankful. Be thankful you have a choice, because not a lot of people have a choice. Don't be afraid to be alone, because I feel like people really take for granted like the space in between relationships, because I feel like that's the most beautiful space that you can be in. You know what I mean? It's the space where you're learning yourself, you're understanding your emotions, what triggers you. When you're in a relationship, you really need to, and I feel like people don't take this seriously, because I've been in this situation countless times, and I'm beginning to understand, I'm just 18, so it's okay. And it should be okay for you as well, because we're all learning and growing and confused. But your cup really needs to be at its full capacity. Your cup needs to be full when getting into a relationship, because relationships are very draining mentally or physically, or both. And if you don't have that full cup, you know what I mean? That's just a recipe for a disaster. You know what I mean? It's just a recipe for disaster. And having a good mindset, loving yourself, having your cup to its full capacity can only just let things be better for the both of you guys, because you can't fill someone else's cup when yours is halfway, because you're just draining your own energy. Because obviously when you're in a relationship, it takes two. You can't just take from your partner. You also have to give. But how are you going to give when your cup is barely full? So, being in the periods of being alone, use that time to fill your own cup, to love yourself, to understand, like I said, what triggers you, all of your good and all your bad. I'm sure, yeah, you can talk to other people, but I'm not saying use them. Don't do that. Don't use other people. But, it's okay to have casual, friendships, not necessarily relationships, because I feel like, the whole casual, not necessarily dating scene, but casual, for example, sex, that's not, I feel like our generation, kind of is going a little buck wild with that, because stuff like that. And that's a different podcast conversation, but energy exchange, I take that very seriously. And like I said, that's a whole nother podcast. You guys can comment, or just personally DM me whether you think you'd want to talk about casual sex, energy exchange, just that. Why the fuck was I talking about that? Oh yeah. Casually talking to other people, that's okay, because, you can make friends. That's not a bad thing. And if they evolve into a relationship, that's fine as well. But then also take into account, wait, hold on. Is my cup full? Do I fully love myself? Because I'm not about to put this other person in a situation that I never intended them to be into. But since I'm not right mentally, that's how the cookie's most likely going to crumble. So, like I said, when you're in that in-between space of aloneness before and after you get into a relationship, after you get out of a breakup is what I mean, just learn to fill your own cup, and don't be afraid to be alone. You know what I mean? Some people have kids and they're limited to making decisions. And, people that are single fathers, single mothers, yeah, they obviously can be thankful, but they have a little less advantage than someone who doesn't. For example, like me, I don't have kids. So I'm thankful that, I can be alone and be single and be able to make my own decisions without taking other people into account. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily a bad thing if you do have kids and you're single, because sure, independent, you know what I mean? You have a kid, that's more of a respect award, you know what I mean? That's a gold sticker right there. But it's just a bit harder, and that's just all I have to say about that. Me personally, I'm thankful that I go through these things, and every situation that I've been through, so I can give advice. And just flipping and having that mindset of being thankful that you went through everything you went through so you can give others advice, it's just more happier. And it just allows you to have just more peace with yourself. But yeah, that's all I have for today's podcast. This was actually a good conversation with myself. Well, no, I'm talking to you guys. Obviously, I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, I really enjoyed recording this. Confused but growing. Thank you for listening. I'm going to have all my social medias in the link below. My Instagram, my TikTok, my Twitter, all that. You can text me on whatever ones, any podcast ideas that you have, or any comments, concerns, whatever. Like I said, thank you for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.